everyone, this is Don. Welcome to our weekly show, The Subcontinent. We are here to bring light to some of the most important issues affecting the region. Along with an in-depth analysis of the topics and perspectives from regional and international experts, we shall review what key players think and what the common people have to say.
In this edition of The Subcontinent, we bring light to another spree of anti-Muslim riots engulfed India. This time the capital New Delhi, amid protests against the anti-Muslim citizenship law. And we try to find another answer for this question. Why did so many have to die while Modi was signing a multi-billion-dollar military deal with Trump? We shall also dive into history and see how Muslims have experienced bloodshed in the hands of those who don't want them to live in an independent India.
Delhi burned as Modi and Trump were busy patting each other's shoulders. Official figures state that in the riots that occurred in Delhi during Trump's visit, 53 people, mostly Muslims, lost their lives to angry Hindu mobs. These mobs, fueled by right-wing Hindu nationalist organizations such as the RSS, Shiv Sena, Bajrang Dal and Hanuman Sena, not only started by raging onto the peaceful protesters who were protesting against the anti-Muslim citizenship law, but they went into Muslim neighborhoods and lynched, beat and even burned people alive to death, while destroying mosques and properties for 3 days, with law enforcement agencies either sitting idly or abetting the perpetrators.
The recent communal carnage in the Indian capital New Delhi opened a new dark chapter in the country's modern history as Hindu fanatic mobs were seen descending on Muslim neighborhoods, wreaking havoc for days, targeting their businesses and homes as well as places of worship. Officially, dozens of people, mostly Muslims, were killed or injured, but unofficial figures put the number in hundreds. One can image the pogrom by taking a glimpse of the worst affected areas where Hindu shops and residences remain largely intact, while most Muslim houses, businesses and mosques are gutted down, with the burnt remains scattered across the narrow lanes.
देखो जी मुझे तो लगता नहीं यहाँ सेफ हो रहे हैं हम यहाँ पे इस तरह क्योंकि गली में वैसे हम तो 25 साल से रहते हैं यहाँ कोई दिक्कत नहीं थी हमें बिल्कुल प्यार से रह रहे थे लेकिन कोई ना कोई तो है जो मतलब यहाँ पे बताया कि भाई ये मुसलमानों के घर हैं ये नहीं है वो पल्ली तरफ तोड़ फोड़ करके चले गए थे उसके बाद शाम के टाइम ये इधर आग लगाई है तो कोई ना कोई तो है ना इसमें बताने वाला भाई ये मुस्लिम के घर है
बहुत मदद मिली पड़ोसियों की वजह से तो कोई बात नहीं कोई बात अगर पड़ोसी ना होते तो आप भी जाओ होते वो तो लोग ऐसे थे इन लोगों को भी मार देते हैं.
The unrest was triggered after the weeks-long sit-ins in Delhi against the government's newly enacted Citizenship Amendment Act, which opponents say discriminates against Muslims. Anti-law protests in Delhi have been peaceful from the beginning. People from across the communities got together singing patriotic songs, waving Indian flags and listening to speeches on freedom, solidarity and secularism. But this did not stop the ruling Bharatiya Janata Party of Prime Minister Narendra Modi and its parent Hindu organizations like RSS, Bajrang Dal, Shiva Sena, Hanuman Sena and others from portraying them as traitors and making them prime targets for attacks. Emboldened by the support they received from security forces, extremist Hindu mobs attacked Muslims by shouting Jai Shri Ram or Victory to Lord Ram.
We are afraid. We have left our houses on midnight just because they are not there. ये यहाँ पर दिख रहे हैं सिर्फ दिन में, रात में यहाँ पर नहीं थे. लड़के आए थे, जय श्री राम के नारे लगा रहे थे. उसी वक्त हमने अपना घर छोड़ा है यहाँ से. फिर हम सुबह में आए हैं यहाँ पर जब हमें दिखा कि फोर्स आ गई है.
People got beaten or burnt alive as they were leaving places of worship or returning from their workplaces.
Pakistan's founding father, Muhammad Ali Jinnah, claimed that Muslims who remained in India would always have to prove their loyalty to the state. Many are starting to think that Jinnah was not wrong. At a time when Indian-controlled Muslim-majority Kashmir region is under lockdown, Muslim religious places are being destroyed, and when the Indian state has blatantly enacted an anti-Muslim citizenship law, Muslim celebrities are silent, and many secular-minded people are afraid to say anything against the government at all.
The anti-Muslim carnage was not spontaneous, but seemingly the result of a plan hatched by some in the right-wing government for months. In the run-up to the February 7th Delhi Assembly elections, the BJP ran a vicious campaign targeting the city's Muslims. A local minister even incited the crowd at an election rally with the slogan, "Shoot the traitors." Another minister pledged that anti-law protesters would be sent packing within hours of a BJP victory, adding that if left unchecked, they would be raped and killed. This while Modi and his Interior Minister Amit Shah called the protesters anti-Indians and pro-Pakistanis. When the inevitable happened and the protesters were attacked, the violence quickly spread across Delhi. While the police faced accusations of looking the other way or resorting force not against the perpetrator but the victims. The legislation grants citizenship to refugees from 3 neighboring countries, namely Bangladesh, Afghanistan and Pakistan, only if they are not Muslims. The Muslim community is seeing the law as a clear affront and an attack on their Indian identity.
We are calling for freedom from CAA. We are calling for freedom from NRC. We want everybody in our country to stay because our Muslim, they are also our brothers. We all are equal. We don't have something different in our body. We have born in the same land and we want to grow and stay united.
We are not Hindu, we are not Muslim, we are Indian.
Away from angry street protests, dozens of petitions have been filed in India's Supreme Court, including by social rights activists and political parties to challenge the constitutionality of the law. UN High Commissioner for Human Rights Michelle Bachelet has also made an application to be a third party in one petition against the law. Modi, who is known for his anti-Muslim policies, has taken controversial decisions since taking office in 2014. Under his government, the site of a mosque that was destroyed by fanatics was granted to Hindus in the town of Ayodhya. He stripped the disputed Kashmir region of its autonomy. Lynching of Muslim youth is yet another novel phenomenon Modi's India has witnessed over the past several years.
The events have definitely ensured extensive coverage regionally and internationally. Let's see how the media actually covered the event.
Many Indians believed it was only a matter of time before Hindu nationalism provoked the kind of bloodshed that exploded in New Delhi. Muslim-Hindu harmony was central to the vision of India's founders, Mohandas Gandhi and Jawaharlal Nehru, who laid the foundation for a secular state. 2 days before the anti-Muslim riots began in Delhi, a member of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's cabinet said Muslims should have been sent to Pakistan. It's time to acknowledge that the demonization and violence against Muslims has been a mainstay of India since independence. The violence began a day before US President Donald Trump arrived in the country for a 36-hour trip where Prime Minister Narendra Modi feted the American leader with a massive rally in Ahmedabad.
To discuss the communal carnage in India, we have Mr. Muzammil Ayub Thakur. He is the president of Kashmir Freedom Movement based in London. Mr. Thakur, welcome to our show. Since Modi's first term in 2014, the political campaign has grown into a Hindu nationalist theme. What does Delhi's worst communal violence in decades mean for Modi's India?
Modi's India is turning into a fascist, right-wing, imperialistic, neo-colonial state. Now, we've seen the effects of such ridiculous notions in the past when we had Nazi Germany or Stalin and whatnot. So we're seeing the rise of fascism in India, but this isn't something new. We've known about the BJP, who are backed by the RSS, their parent organization. Their books, their literature talks about fascism and neo-colonialism and imperialism, but most importantly about the superior race that Hindus are, that the Indians are. So this is something that is being repeated, and that we hope the international community realizes the potential for fascism, the rise of fascism in India, and how it can spread beyond those borders.
All right, on that note, I would like you to see a few comments on social media, specifically on Twitter, regarding the communal carnage. All right, Mr. Thakur, welcome back to the show. Some of the perpetrators of the attacks were heard shouting Jai Shri Ram, which means victory to the Lord. Can you explain the significance of that chant?
Chanting itself has no problem, and we have Allahu Akbar in the Muslim religion. So Hindus that say it, we have no problem with that. But the problem is how they are using it, and it is a call to terrorism. It is a call to arms. It is a call for killing the minorities, particularly the Muslims inside India, and it is going to lead to a genocide. And it's worth mentioning that on December 12th, Dr. Gregory Stanton, founder of Genocide Watch, declared to an audience in the Congressional Government Officials briefing that there is preparation for a genocide, and it is definitely underway in India. And he said that persecution of Muslims in Assam and Kashmir is the stage just before genocide. And now we're seeing what's happening since the December the 12th till now, of what these right-wing fascist ideologies are, and people that follow those ideologies, what they're going to do and which way they are going towards. And the problem is that those that use the term Jai Shri Ram, we don't have a problem with their religion, we don't have a problem with their ideology. What we have a problem with is their political nature and the ideology that they have in terms of an Akhand Bharat, a greater India, a pan-Hindu nation, a Hindutva ideology. So there is a serious problem with their fascist ideological narrative, particularly the terminologies that they use and how they've manipulated that language into radicalism.
It is not just Muslims who are under threat in India. Hindu nationalism and radicalism has also targeted Christians and Sikhs in the past. So, who are the real culprits behind such mayhem? Can we simply call it a British legacy, as the colonial masters had pursued their divide and rule policy and sowed the seed of division? Or are they organizations like the RSS which feel overjoyed with the agenda of hate and division along religious lines? Let's not forget Nathuram Godse, the person who killed the founding father of India, Mahatma Gandhi, was also a member of the RSS.
Are these attacks in Delhi comparable to previous episodes of communal violence? Indeed, India's post-independence history is bristling with such incidents, often Muslims at the receiving end, with scant incidents against other minorities like Sikhs and Christians. Sectarian violence before 1947 was largely blamed on the divide and rule policy of British India. But the legacy continued as the country gradually turned into a right-wing hub. India has witnessed anti-Muslim riots on the almost yearly basis. Some of the worst were the 1989 Gujarat riots, the 1983 Nellie massacre, the 1984 Bhiwandi riots, the 1987 Meerut riots, the 1989 Bhagalpur violence, the 1990 Hyderabad riots, the 1992 Mumbai riots, the 1992 Kanpur, 1993 Mumbai riots, 2002 Gujarat riots. Gujarat, the birthplace of the father of nation Mahatma Gandhi, has long been a fertile ground for such hatred that intensified after the demolition of a 16th century mosque by Hindu fanatics under the guard of the BJP party Hindutva groups and their leaders in 1992. The destruction was followed by pogroms throughout northern India, which left up to 3,000 Muslims dead. In 2002, Gujarat riots followed with a rumor that Hindu pilgrims returning from a ceremony at the site of the Babri Mosque were killed in an arson attack. One official inquiry concluded that the fire in the train was accidental, but that report was later dismissed by the Supreme Court. The Indian authorities eventually concluded that the train was set ablaze by Muslims, fanning the flame of carnage in the state.
Critics are skeptical, as the rhetoric and incitement of violence is common against Muslims, even by the leaders of the Bharatiya Janata Party. They suspect that there is order to this communal carnage, a deeper story. Anti-Muslim policy is nothing new under Modi. Several hundred Muslims were killed in Gujarat in 2002 when Modi was the chief minister of that very state. Now that he is the prime minister of the whole country, critics are drawing commonalities between riots in Gujarat and the recent riots in Delhi.
The 1984 massacres of Sikhs and the 2002 pogroms against Muslims in Gujarat had a lot in common. In both cases, the police were accused of abandoning their supervisory duties by either remaining passive or, in some cases, aiding and abetting the killings. In some cases, Muslim women were repeatedly raped and forced to watch their husbands and sons die. Modi was accused of failing to halt the violence and indirectly encouraging some of the Hindu rioters. During its deliberations on the Gujarat riots, India's Supreme Court even likened Modi's government to that of Nero, the Roman emperor who fiddled while Rome burned. Ironically, Modi was cleared of complicity in the violence by a special investigation team appointed by the Apex Court, but rights groups continue to accuse him of tacitly supporting the rioters. The recent anti-Muslim attacks in Delhi had all of these characteristics. This time, anti-Muslim violence was not revenge for anything, as the Muslim community did nothing that could even remotely warrant retaliation. The course of 70 hours of unbridled mayhem happened while Modi banqueted with US President Donald Trump, and the Navy band serenaded them with "Can You Feel the Love Tonight?" This time, Muslims were punished, only for being Muslim and asking to be Indian. The Hindu mobs, empowered by the Hindu Nationalist Central Government, no longer appear to need a reason to attack minorities.
Regional and international media have shown staunch criticism of government's policies towards Muslims. Let's see how they've covered the story so far.
The Delhi police, who report directly to Home Minister Amit Shah, either stood idly by or escorted the mobs. People were chanting slogans of Jai Shri Ram, Hail Lord Ram, and saying, "Leave this house, we will set it on fire," Yasmin said, her voice shaking with emotion. Hindus and Muslims died in Delhi violence, but weight of carnage was directed at Muslims. Delhi has seen some of the most tragic and harrowing incidents where Muslims were targeted by an RSS-orchestrated pogrom. Innocent people were beaten, lynched and burnt alive. properties looted and burnt, while mosques were vandalized and torched as well.
We would now like to welcome to our show Mr. Shahbaz Ali Rehan. He is a researcher of modern Indian history at the University of Oxford. Mr. Shahbaz, thank you for joining us in our show. Journalists in India are under threat for unbiased reporting. How much of this do you think has to do with the messaging from the government?
Well, India has constitutional guarantee of freedom of speech. And unfortunately, in last couple of years, Modi has somehow, our Prime Minister Modi has somehow killed the soul of Indian media. I mean, the basic journalistic rules has been violated. Reporters declared their unequivocal allegiances, and editors were parroting exaggerated claims. I mean, supplied by the government. So, well, there are very few news channels and television newspapers in India which are very much vocal and very much critical about the acts of Narendra Modi's government. Such TV channels, reporters, or the journalists of such media, every day they receive death threats. So, I mean, we don't have any freedom of expression back in India right now under this Modi government, this BJP regime.
Before moving to the other questions, we want you to look at the social media comments, what people think, and then we can come back to the other questions. Thank you. We are again joined by Mr. Rehan. Now, there's been a bit of the debate about whether the violence in Delhi should be defined as a riot or something more serious, a pogrom or a genocide, as the Chief Minister of West Bengal stated. Can you explain the difference?
Yeah, I mean, there are some BJP leaders like the junior finance minister Anurag Thakur, or Delhi BJP leader Kapil Mishra. I mean, there are video footages in which you can see they are leading the crowd with slogans like shoot the traitors. I can't mention the exact Hindi word. This is a very derogatory word, kind of racist also. So they are chanting slogans against Muslims. They are encouraging their supporters to attack the Muslims. So, I mean, when a particular community is targeted, when both parties are not equally involved in this violent act, so how can you call it a riot? It's a genocide. It's a pogrom. It's a one-sided story. I mean, the role of the BJP government, the role of the Prime Minister himself, the role of Delhi police, and the role of the supporters of this ruling Hindu nationalist party. If you take everything in your consideration, you will find that this is very organized kind of thing. I mean, rampant Islamophobia, anti-Muslim narratives, enacting law in the parliament against the Muslims. So there are series of anti-Muslim, xenophobic acts which led this incident, the 2020 Delhi pogrom. So, either call it genocide or pogrom, but this is not a riot.
With this, we sign off our program. You can follow us on our social media platforms to stay updated, and we will meet the same time, same day next week. Thanks for watching.